Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Zen The Zany. Today we're actually back with another interview. So if you guys remember, a few weeks ago we did an interview with Startup Grind chapter director Grace, and we asked her 9 questions. Why 9? Check out the interview. There should be a link right here. So what we do is that we find interesting folks working in the media, tech, and startup fields in Shenzhen and beyond, and we talk to them about living and working in China. As entrepreneurs, as startups, what is their belief system? What do they feel about living and working here? What are some of the hardest lessons that they've learned? And a lot more. So in this episode, I'm talking to my friend Brian Hirsh. He's the CEO at Brightwood, which is an AI and IoT based startup in the smart home industry. And what he does is that he uses machine learning to improve your home. So in this episode, you'll see a lot of interesting things about how Brian, who is a foreign entrepreneur like me, came to Shenzhen, came to China, how he's lived and worked here, what kind of lessons he's learned, sometimes the hard way. And also, watch out for some interesting references to AI-based pop culture. We're talking about WALL-E, about Future Man, for those of you who know what Future Man is, and a lot more. So I hope you guys have fun watching this interview. We had a lot of fun talking about it, and I hope you guys like it. Hi, Brian.
Hey, Sheen. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us on 9 questions.
Beautiful day. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually a really nice day. I was particularly excited when we talked and you agreed to be on our little show.
When you told me about it, I was also very excited. I think it sounds like a cool project, and I'm glad someone's doing that.
The first question is really simple. It's about you.
Yeah. So I'm working in smart homes. I actually started that quite a few years ago. I'm from originally Washington, D.C., which absolutely love the city. Everyone should go. But what I realized was that technology was really changing the way that we communicated and the way we found information, but it hadn't changed our lifestyle as much as it could. So I noticed that there was this gap in our use of technology, particularly in homes. So I started working at a company that was in the US called Revolve, that was acquired by Google back in 2014. After that, I stayed in smart homes and joined another company called Phantom. They had a small team, i.e. like me and the vice president in Chicago. So I moved to the Windy City for a bit, but then I started taking business trips out to Shenzhen. When I came here, first off, 90% of smart home hardware being made here, which is incredible. And then outside of that, I found a lot of people starting new companies, starting new projects, innovating. And so I wanted to come here and join that.
What would you say is the hardest thing that you've ever had to learn or ever had to do?
When I first came to China, I became a manager of a team at the last company I was working at. And the management style is very, very different in America and China. Growing into managing a Chinese team was a challenge at first. It can be more demanding of the manager in certain ways because the manager has to have even clearer idea of exactly what they want to happen. In the US, I think it's kind of more like you would more give someone your objective and what you want them to accomplish and leave it up to them to figure out exactly how to go about accomplishing that. Now, when I came to China, what I found was that I needed to spend more time giving even clearer instructions. And I think part of this is because I'm managing Chinese people and our thinking is a little bit different. So part of the reason that I needed to spend more effort clarifying what I wanted is just because we communicate differently and I needed to bridge that gap. But I think also with the work style, it tends to be more focused on accomplishing the tasks that you've been given. So when I first came here and started managing it, once I kind of got the hang of it, I felt almost like an octopus or something. Like all of a sudden I had all these arms and they were all doing exactly like what I thought they were doing.
What was the last thing that you really wanted to do, and did you get to do it? It can be anything.
So when I was a kid, I really liked climbing trees. And I think, or just climbing anything. And I think maybe it's like this impulse of you see it and you're like, oh, I'm really excited, I want to go do it. So when you say that I really want to do, I think of that impulse, like that feeling of like, ah, yes. And yeah, there's like some statues over there that are these big.
The animals.
Like, yeah, the animals.
Yes.
Yeah, so they're like, people can't see them. They're like mirror animals. It's like everything. They've got like an elephant and a giraffe and hippo. Yeah. And I saw this and I just wanted to climb on top of it. So I've got this photo of me like on top of this moose. Just like riding this moose. And it's like me and then like lots of little 4-year-olds. So.
What do you really believe in?
Humans can continue to make significant progress. I think part of this stems from looking at the past And the other part stems from being optimistic about the future. I mean, if you look at the past, we've continued to develop and develop and develop. And I don't think that, and maybe there's some limit to that, but I don't think that we're anywhere close to approaching that limit. And the second half is more about just having an optimistic view, right? There are kind of two projections of the future. One is eventually something happens and we all kind of die or something like this. And the other is that our species is very successful and lives very long life and productive. What's the lifetime of a species, right? So I choose to be optimistic, and I think that we have the ability to create a future for ourselves.
If you're thinking of progress and you're thinking of the progress of humanity, let's say we assume that smart homes are going to be adopted by the masses on some mass scale. What would you say is like the ultimate progress that you can see? Like if you were to describe the ultimate smart home that you can see people living in let's go with the distant future.
Well, I mean, I think in a distant, really distant future, it depends, where we're living, right? At some point, we need to be living out there in the stars and on different planets. So in terms of what our homes would be, I would think that there are environments that can completely optimize for each of us individually. Right now, I think that this progresses in a few steps. I think that our understanding of our own biology improves significantly. Our understanding of how our environment affects our bodies, affects the way that we think, affects the way that we feel, the way that we act will improve as well. And then we can have our homes automatically understand that for each of us as individuals and be able to change our environment to allow us to reach our fullest potential as individuals.
Have you seen Future Man?
No. Is it a movie?
It's a TV series.
Okay.
In one part of the TV series, they have, for some reason, James Cameron's smart home, which has a personality. And one of the characters actually falls in love with the smart home and the smart home's personality. Do you ever see that happening?
It's kind of like the movie Her.
I guess so.
I think it's very easy for people to form strong attachments to inanimate objects and to something that shows a little bit of emotion. So yeah, I mean, I think definitely that can happen.
If you had to do something for work, but you weren't going to get paid, what is the one thing that you would do even if you were not getting paid? And conversely, what is the one thing that you would not do for work? Not that I know what you're going to say.
It's a complete surprise. Yeah, here we go.
That you wouldn't do even if you were getting paid an X amount of money.
I think it's very easy to have a list of things that I wouldn't do. Probably significantly immoral things, negative things. In terms of what I would do even if I weren't getting paid, I can actually go in a maybe different direction. I think that a lot of career building options that you can do that would not get paid, right? Like people do unpaid internships.
If you were to do an unpaid internship, what would you do?
It would really be about like who the internship is for. Learning from someone's more core knowledge is very useful. So it would have to be underneath someone that I felt that I could learn a lot from.
Are people good inherently? Or, I don't want to say evil, because no one ever actually says people are evil. Somehow people are very reluctant to say that. So are people inherently good, or are they inherently just fearful / law-abiding / people that didn't get a chance to do other stuff otherwise?
I think people are inherently self-interested, and I think that everyone kind of ends up developing some ways to improve their situation, and sometimes that involves things that are either illegal or bad or hurt other people.
3 questions to go. So we've been talking about China a lot, so this is actually a natural segue versus my earlier failed attempt at one.
Well, they have the new Segway at CES right now, and Segway just made this. Have you seen WALL-E?
Yeah.
They made that. Like the chair that like the really fat people in WALL-E sit
in.
They made that.
That's so weird because
so it's like this chair, and it's got like little buttons that you press, and it just like drives you around.
But the entire idea behind that chair was to make fun of how that invention.
And now they've made it.
Fattened up humanity. What?
Oh, this is the world we live in.
What does China mean to you?
I think in America, one thing that we really romanticize is this idea of the new frontier, right? When you think of everyone who came to America wanted to start something new, right? Maybe they're running away from something. Maybe they're running towards like new opportunity. But everyone who came there had the idea that they can go somewhere and start something new. And for me, China is kind of like that. Like China is this idea that I can come somewhere new and create part of a new future for us in this new place.
The new American dream is Chinese. What do you absolutely hate doing?
I really hate like staying still. And I don't mean physically, like that's fine, but I want to be constantly improving. I want to be constantly growing. And I think it's both personally and professionally. And I really hate like kind of the complacency with standing still. And even like frustrates me in like other people. I mean, it's like their life, do whatever you want. But if you're not getting better, then what are you doing?
What is something that you would like to ask me?
If you could no longer be in China or anywhere you've lived before, any country you've lived before, and you could no longer do your current occupation, so no more videos, besides being lost at the world, right? If this were the reality, what would you do?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. Well, I would probably be a writer, because I've always loved writing, and weirdly enough, I kind of had the guts to do video, but I never had the guts to just be a full-time writer. So I would probably be a writer and a public speaker. I think probably in my head harder to do full-time versus video production. Yeah. And where, I think I would just pick a place if I could just go there.
Yeah, because I think both of those you can kind of do from wherever.
Yeah. Because when we came to China, we didn't pick it for anything very specific. We were just, we got an opportunity to come here, and I didn't pick it for video production at all. I was just like, I can probably do video production anywhere, make films anywhere. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. And it was really great talking to you. And I hope we can, catch up again sometime.
Is there a way you end this? Do we like handshake or like?
We can do we can do a handshake. Oh, let me go the boring route. We can do a high five now. If you guys liked the interview, if you guys liked the 9 questions, or if you guys totally hated them, let us know in the comments. If you guys like this, and if you guys want to see more interesting people in Shenzhen, more cool people like Brian doing really interesting stuff here, please subscribe to our channel. We're going to be back with more behind the scenes stuff, more cool interviews like this, and just more stuff about how it is that we live and work in China and survive in the creative industry, in the media, and in the tech industry. So that's all for today. Thank you for watching. Bye.
加油!